Come manifest your best life with 190 Vision.
Years ago, I knew a woman who prided herself on thinking positively and speaking positively to attract into her life the things that she wanted, such as a husband, family, the vehicles that she wanted, finances, the house, anything that she wanted. And I knew her for several years. But as much as she thought positively, or so she said, and talked positively, things didn't seem to change for her. It seemed like her life just stayed in this one place. When I was a kid, I would hear my mom talking with other adults. And of course, my mom ran the bookstore at our church. So they would tell my mom about prayers that they would say and how long they've been saying them, some of them for years, but situations and challenges they had would stay the same. They wouldn't change. There's no way they were getting better. So that leads me to this question. Honey?
¿Qué te pasa?
Well, I'd like to know, in your opinion, or from what you have learned from the Ascended Masters, why is it that individuals who say affirmations, think positively, pray, they do all that for certain outcomes, but then it seems like things don't change?
That's a very deep question. Well, we'll look at it from two perspectives, right? Or we'll take it from we'll approach it two different ways. The first one is just based on expectations. And I know a while back a video was released about that, about people and expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the next part will have to do with unconditional love. Why do you go,
Because I would not think unconditional love would have anything really to do with trying to create what you want in your life through positive thinking and affirmations, etc.
Keep that in mind. So when we get to that, you could bring it up again, or we'll see if your question gets answered, right?
Right. So let's start.
If you learn more. So go ahead.
Let's start with the expectations then that you were just mentioning.
Right. So let's start with that. A great example of that would be that after you and I got close, became maybe not close friends, but at least we were talking to each other. No, it'd have to be after we got closer, because you wouldn't tell me something like that if we were just beginning to talk to each other. But you made the statement to me once that we were talking about you and why you had the scapula on, or maybe you had the rosary. And since I'm also Catholic, I noticed that. I said, what are you doing with the rosary right now? It was in your car, and that we were driving to an appointment, and you took your car, and you told me how you've been saying the rosary for like 10 years. You said it for 10 years, the novena for so many years, 11, 12 years. How long?
Okay, the novena was a 12-year novena, but I said rosary every day.
So it was a novena we're talking about.
Okay.
The 12 years one. I remember that because I asked you why you were saying it for so long, and you mentioned that you were praying for your perfect husband, right? Yes?
Okay, not with that novena. That was a different one, but yes. Okay, that was one of them.
Geez, it was more than one novena? I'm just learning that one now.
The 12-year novena was so I wouldn't go down to the fiery pits of you-know-where. And then the other novena was one that you said every 30 days. There was one to St. Teresa.
No, not me. You said it.
But I would say, an individual would say.
Okay. So I don't want people to think that I said the novena, because I didn't. So
at that time, that was one I was saying for a husband, yes.
Got it.
And then,
what's that?
I said a whole lot more for a husband than just that one that you know of.
Oh, okay. Is that another topic, or you want to give us some insight into that?
I had a lot of prayers, I would say, for a husband and a family and things that I wanted.
How long had you been saying the novena, the prayers? You might be the perfect example of this question you're asking. Actually, we'll find out. It is going on a different path than I ever imagined.
Well, when I was in the fourth grade, maybe around the age of 9,
Huh?
10, yes, that's when I received my first serious prayer book from being confirmed in the Catholic faith, and I started using it. And that's when I started also receiving these little chaplets and novenas that I would start using, and I would pray. It felt like I prayed almost all day long, every day.
Wow. From fourth grade.
From fourth grade, right? And then you met me when I was already in my 20s, so that's a long time.
That sure is a long time. I guess you're a great example of how long it takes. So anyway, but to go back to the story, and I remember asking you, praying for a husband, because I'd never heard of that, right? Someone praying for a spouse. And you told me yes. So I asked you, well, what exactly are you praying for? And that's what you told me that you remember what you told me?
No, but I know what I prayed for.
Okay, what did you pray for? So everybody could know, if you don't mind.
I prayed that he'd be financially successful in order for us to have a family, so I could be a stay-at-home mom. That he'd be tall. I have dark hair, except I would say tall, dark, and handsome, and that he had the same morals and values that I did. Things like that.
So that's good enough there, right? So why do I ask you to share that? You might wonder.
Because my prayer was answered.
No, it wasn't. That's the point, right? Think about it. Someone that's really paying attention to what they're praying for or saying the affirmation about, you said what? And the part I'm going to focus on is tall, dark hair, right? So let's focus on those two, tall and dark hair. But the last time I checked, you're taller than myself.
Yes.
Then the last time I checked, last time I went to try to comb my hair, I'm still looking for it.
Okay, so for those who are watching, for you to have some perspective, I'm about 4 inches taller than my husband.
Oh, you have to give specifics now. You really have to give specifics now.
And he's bald.
Folks, just to let you know, this is what she does. In the kitchen, that she makes sure that there's a kitchen where the cabinets are like at the ceiling. And then she takes all the things that we use on a daily basis and she puts them way up there. So every time I want to get something, I have to look at it and say, oh, is this one of those tall jokes again? That's to show you how my life has been. My prayers were not answered.
Did you pray?
No, I didn't do it in novena, so that's why they weren't answered. Anyway, you were saying 4 inches taller.
That you're bald. You have no hair.
No. See, I'm not bald. I just don't have any hair. There's a difference. Boy, so you're just kind of taking advantage of this now. I get the point. So, but I hope you're getting the point that I'm making, right?
Yes.
So somebody that's really just stuck on what they believe is the best thing for them, they would say that the prayer still hasn't been answered.
Mm-hmm.
So for whatever reason, you believe that your prayer has been answered, even though your husband is not tall and your husband does not have dark hair. Well, I did at one time, right? But it's not there any longer.
See, but of the checklist that I had.
No. It's not. Let's stick to the point. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Many people focus on what is missing
Oh, I see.
instead of what is there. And that's why this is such a great example. You notice all of a sudden you want to go back to the things that are there, right? But a lot of people don't do that. People focus on the negatives. How many people focus on positives?
Not many.
So here they are, they're praying or saying the affirmation or doing the novena or chanting or whatever it is they do, right? And there are a lot of blessings in their life on a daily basis. But because it's not what they expect 100%, it doesn't match 100%, then it didn't happen or it didn't come true. So then I asked the question, was their prayer answered? Well, if you're praying to a supreme being, the source, the universe, God, as we prefer to refer to this universal source, right? I would think that each one of us would give credit to that source or that higher being, that this higher being knows what's best for us. And because of that, whatever it is that we receive has to be the answer to our prayer or to our chanting or the novena or rosary or whatever it is that we did. In reality, though, people spend more time focused on what it is that they want. That what they want takes priority, and it has to be that way 100%. Otherwise, it hasn't happened. Do you follow?
Yes, I'm following.
So that could be one reason why people say that what they pray for has not happened. Like I said, we've talked about this in a separate video. The other reason now is unconditional love.
Okay.
And that's the one that has you sort of curious, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, in psychology and maybe metaphysics, they refer to this as the conscious and the subconscious. You know, the two parts of someone, where the conscious is the one that's actively creating things, and then the conscious sends it to the subconscious, and the subconscious gets to work on it. If you're dealing with the higher realms or the spiritual realm, the way that it was introduced to me is that there are different presence of God within us, right? There is the mighty I am presence, which is the God within. And that portion of God only knows good. It doesn't know bad at all. It's just unconditional. And that would be similar to, say, the subconscious, if you want to look at it that way. Okay?
Okay.
And then there's the Christ self, the Holy Christ self, it's called sometimes, or the Christ within, which is, it represents, it's a symbol of Jesus. You know, when Jesus came in person, so he's very familiar with interacting with human beings. So that part of you, the Christ self, knows the negatives, the good and bad, right? Because you interact with people on a daily basis. So that would be similar to the conscious. So when the conscious goes to work on something, it impresses it on the subconscious, right? Or you, as a person, or myself, we start to work on something. The Christ self says, okay, this is what you want. It sends that message to the mighty and presence, which scientifically might be referred to as the subconscious, and they get to work on it. That's how unconditional love works. Now, let's get into more details. Where does the unconditional love come in, right?
Yes.
To hear the rest of this story, go to 190 Vision TV on Roku TV or Amazon Fire.